to the cloud. Hello, Bloom with Deb friends. I have a wonderful young lady joining us today. Her name is Pastor Samantha White. I met her a few months ago when I signed up to attend the Tea Party fundraiser for Teen Challenge Women's Center. I have a history with Teen Challenge. It is a ministry that is near and dear to my heart. I have seen so many friends and acquaintances' lives be transformed because of this incredible nationwide ministry. It might be international, we'll find out, but Teen Challenge is everywhere. So I just love their program. I love what they do for people. And I had the privilege of speaking at their chapel last month, and I was invited back in July. So I can't wait to speak God's love and truth for these students that are women of all ages that attend this year-long program. So today you're going to get to hear from Samantha more about her spiritual journey, what led her to this role as director of the Teen Challenge Women's Center in Northeast Florida. So welcome, Samantha. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Super. Okay, well, we're going to just jump on in. When and how did you feel God's call in your life? Give us a little feedback on your spiritual journey, how it began.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was raised in a Christian home, grew up going to church from a very young age. My dad was the music director at our church growing up. And so I was always in church. I remember Saturdays running around, as he was practicing with the choir and things like that. So just grew up in church. When I was about 15 years old, I went on my first missions trip down to Belize in Central America. And I came to know the Lord at a very young age. I was about 4 years old, but when I was on this missions trip, it completely changed my life. I saw poverty, real poverty. I saw things that just completely broke my heart. And God really used this trip to open up my heart to the need within just around the world, really. And so I came back from that trip changed. I knew that I was called to work in Christian ministry, and that's what I did. I surrendered my life to Christian ministry when I was 15. I knew there was nothing else that I wanted to do with my life than to serve the Lord. And he used it to change me, and I've never been the same since then. I've had a lot of opportunities to, travel the world on the mission field. And when I was in college, I went to a Bible school, and I really felt that the Lord was calling me on the mission field when I graduated school. But it's just so funny how sometimes we have this idea of what life is going to be like, and we're like, okay, this is how God's going to use me. But the Lord has a way of taking our dreams and our passions for life and molding them to use them how He desires to use them. I had this idea of what it was going to be, but He took it and He did something a little bit different with it. But I'm so blessed with what He's done.
Wow, interesting. So how did He lead you? First off, where did you go to Bible school?
I went to Trinity Baptist College right here in Jacksonville, actually.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
graduated
good.
there.
And then what did you think the mission field was going to look like after you graduated college?
So, for a lot of my classmates in college, they seemed to know right what they were going to do upon graduating. And it didn't work out that way for me. All along, it was kind of whatever was next. The Lord opened up the doors. And so I worked the summer. I went on a missions trip for a month. Then I worked at a summer camp. Then I did a year-long internship up in North Carolina, worked in a church, worked with inner city youth. It was just one step at a time. But I still felt this draw towards international missions, and didn't really know what the Lord was going to do with that. But fast forward a little bit, I'm working here in Jacksonville at a teen girls program called Hosanna House, and I still really felt called to go overseas. So I went out to Africa for a month and a half and was working out on the mission field. But the Lord used that trip in a much different way than I thought that He was going to. When you're out on the mission field for a long period of time, you begin to understand that people are people no matter where they are in the world. We all have the same need. We all need Jesus. It doesn't matter the color of their skin or, their cultural differences. We need Jesus. And I realized that the mission field was as much in our backyard as it is over across the world. And so, I thought I was headed to Africa. I really did. I thought I was headed to Africa, and the Lord kept me right here in Jacksonville because we all need Jesus.
Right. Wow, interesting story. I've heard that so often how we are, these young Christian kids grow up and they go into Bible college and think we've got to make a difference. We've got to do something huge. And how can I change the world? And everything, we start focusing outside the United States. And then when God calls us to stay, they almost feel like it's the death of a dream, because they felt so called and prepared to Africa. Even my first year as a Christian, my first mission trip was to Romania. I didn't even know where it was on the map, but I knew I felt called to go with my church to Romania. And I fell in love with it and the people. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm all in. I'm ready to serve you in Romania. And it was, that was the call to missions. That was a call to serve God, to say yes to him. It doesn't always mean it's that picture, just because that's where we are when we receive that calling. But yeah, it is interesting how international missions can transform our lives because we see the need in a different way than we do here in the United States. So it's interesting that you worked in inner city youth. From the transition between Hosanna House to Teen Challenge, how has that transition been for you to work from working with strictly teenage, younger girls, probably under 18, to working with women of all ages? How's that transition been for you?
Yeah. So working with teens was not my area. I I don't feel that I connect as well with teens as I do with adult women. And so for me, the Lord kept me working with the teens. And when I look back at that, there were times that were just such a struggle for me, but I saw how the Lord was preparing me. And one of the things that I think, I'm in my early 30s, and people my age and younger can struggle with is just working through difficulty. And when things get hard, we want to just up and move on and go to the next thing. But the Lord really taught me endurance. And the Bible has something to say about that, and how it grows us. And so I was able to work through just some difficulties in working with teenagers, because within a program like these teenagers would come into, they didn't necessarily want to be here. And so you're trying to pour into people that don't always want to receive it. That's a challenge. That's definitely a challenge. So it prepared me in a lot of ways to work with adult women, but it was different because the Teen Challenge Women's Center that I'm the director of now, we work with adult women, and they come to us and they're broken. They're so broken. They've been running for a really long time. Some of them struggling with addiction 20 plus years. Some of them have never been sober their whole entire adult life. I've had ladies sitting at the Thanksgiving table saying, "This is the first Thanksgiving that I've ever been sober." And so, for them, most of them have hit their rock bottom, and they're ready. They're ready to change their life and to give their life to the Lord and to do something new. And so I have the unique opportunity of discipling these women and leading my team to do that. That's what we're here to do. We're here to offer life transformation through Christ-centered programs to the adult women and to see their lives be transformed through Christ. And it's exciting. It's a challenge. And I believe that working with teens, it had helped me in working through challenges and working through obstacles, but in a different way now. I can be tenacious to see that change happen in their life.
Yes. Yes, it is hard. We have to be tenacious. Sometimes we spend every ounce of energy we have into people, but we don't always see the fruit and the results that we want to see right away. I remember that in high school ministry as well. It's interesting how God calls us for a season in areas where we don't think we fit. And it's really taking us outside of our normal comfort zone. And like you said, I like how you said it was a season of preparation, not knowing what it was for. I can relate to that too, in that when I worked for 7 years at a crisis pregnancy center, and I wasn't a mom, I had never been pregnant. I got married, but we weren't able to get pregnant. So here I was at a pregnancy center with women who wanted to abort their babies and women who did not appreciate this gift of life because of their circumstances. But I was able to work through that and connect with them because some of them were in dangerous, unhealthy relationships. And that I could relate to. So by using my testimony through certain counseling opportunities, it really was the right place for me at the right time, even though personally it was a little challenging. But to this day, I'm still in touch with clients who have placed their babies for adoption. I'm friends with clients who've chosen life for their babies. And it's been remarkable to see the fruit of their lives because of their decisions in that season, even though I felt totally unequipped. But I love the saying that he does qualify the called, even though we don't feel qualified. It's a different saying, but that's the point of it.
Yeah.
I'm also curious about your, I'm not sure how long you've been single and how long you've been married, but I was single 34 years doing ministry since I was 22. And then I got married and I've been married 16 years. So doing ministry with my husband alongside him has been really fun and exciting and wonderful. But I'm curious of your journey with your husband. Like, how long were you single? How did you meet? And how do you do ministry together?
Sure. So I met my husband while working at Teen Challenge or for Teen Challenge. And so I was single for a couple of years out of college, I think about 3 or so. And you know, really during that time, I was ready just to pursue the Lord on my own and do whatever he called me to do. And there's a certain level of freedom that a single woman has in that she can do whatever God calls her to do. There's nobody. It's just you and the Lord. And I was ready to do whatever he asked me to do. And I hadn't always been at that point. There was a time where I battled with you know, what single women can, and feeling that discontentment. But I got to that place where I was content with it just being me and the Lord. And he brought my husband into my life. And at the time it was a little confusing because I was getting ready to go to Africa for a month and a half. And I meet my husband, and yeah, it confused me, but I put it before the Lord and he made it very clear. And that was one of the things that really encouraged me in us coming together, you know, and getting engaged and things like that, was how the Lord began speaking to us as a couple. And I valued that because, you know, the Lord sees us as one when we're married, and he was beginning to speak to us as one and confirming things to us as a couple. And so seeing that was very encouraging for me personally, and knowing that God was in this. So we got married, and he was working at the men's center for Teen Challenge here in Jacksonville. And I was working with the teenage girls at the time. We were working with teens, and we were just working our jobs. And over the years, the Lord began stirring something inside of us that we didn't really know what to do with. I think sometimes in what I experienced, we can face what we think is discontentment, but it's almost a preparation for something coming next, a transition. And we don't always know what to do with those feelings. But I really believe the Lord was preparing us. And in that transition, we let God do what he needed to do. And that's when he called us to be the directors. And we stepped into that well, it's been about over 4 years now. And it's been wonderful to serve the Lord alongside my husband. We you know, we direct different centers, but we also work together often as well. And so it's really, really awesome to work alongside your husband in ministry.
Yeah, it is truly a gift. And isn't it funny how God knows how to put two people together? So that is just awesome. It's great to hear that you get to work together. Um, now that you have many years of experience of doing ministry in this capacity, can you tell us a little bit about self-care? How do you take care of your own spiritual walk in while doing ministry that's not quite 9 to 5? It's very unique hours, it's nights, weekends, it's on call whenever people need you. So how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, I'll answer that question kind of practically, and then when it comes to my spiritual walk as well. But a big thing for me is emails. I know we get notifications on our phones all the time, the little bubbles, right? And for me, if I've got a little red bubble going on in my phone, it's hard for me not to check it. So I don't have any email type apps on my phone. I have to actually go in to open it, makes it a little bit longer of a process. So for me, that's a kind of a boundary so that I'm not super tied to everything all the time. Because you're right, this is a residential program. There's always things going on. You're dealing with a lot of issues all the time. And so for me to stay healthy, it's important for me to have time away, to refresh, to recharge, to not feel like I constantly have to be in the heat of it, if you want to say that. So that's a big one for me is just with my phone and emails and text messages and phone calls, setting some boundaries up with my team when I can, but spiritually, I think that it's important as leaders that we realize that we can't take someone where we've never been ourselves, where we're not. And so if I'm discipling women and calling them to be who Christ has called them to be as women of God, then I have to lead in that way. That's important that I set that example. And I take that seriously. The Bible talks about how teachers, we're held accountable to what we teach. If I'm preaching something, teaching something, and I'm not walking that out, that's not good. I've got to make sure that I'm walking the talk. And so, I make sure that in the mornings, I'm spending time with the Lord. I'm getting my coffee out. I'm, digging into a Bible study or working through the Bible in a year or, whatever I need to do to make sure I have some good time, just me and the Lord, digging into his word, praying, just really meditating on what it is he's speaking, not just to me, but to my team, to the students. I'm responsible for a lot of lives, and I take that seriously. So I can't lead people where I'm not going, and so it's important for me to stay close to the Lord.
Good advice. That's wonderful. What would you say is an experience in your life so far that has helped you grow the most? How have you grown to be who you are today?
Honestly, I think, sometimes making mistakes,
Mm.
we grow through making mistakes. I, in working in addiction ministry and working with women who've made a lot of mistakes, if I was a leader who came in and everything was picture perfect in my life, I wouldn't really have a lot of room to speak into their lives. They struggle with that. And so sometimes just being able to be vulnerable with them of, hey, I didn't always make the best choices. And in college, I messed up a time or two. I made some compromises in my life. And, for them to hear that just because you're in ministry doesn't mean your life is perfect, or, I'm still working on my marriage with my husband and how we can love and respect one another well, or parenting stuff. For me, I think just being vulnerable and not having boundaries with that, of course, but being vulnerable and being willing to share and be honest about your life, I think that's an important thing that we should embrace as women. We can fall into judgment, unfortunately, sometimes, and I don't think that has any place in the body of Christ, because we grow through those times.
Wow, good stuff. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing you speak at this women's gathering called The Well in July. Have you attended any of those meetings this year? I'm new to it all, so I can't wait to go in June. Um, do you know
Yeah.
much about it?
So this will be my first one. I was invited a couple months ago. The timing didn't really work out for me, but the ladies who have founded this, Sharon and Shanna, both pastors, they were actually at our tea party back in April. And so I'm very excited just to go out and to share more about Teen Challenge and the ministry that we do to women here in our area. It's going to be great.
Super. Okay, great. Oh, I'm so glad you're going to be there. Great ladies. And so we got to get the word out. Will you be bringing any of the students or staff from Teen Challenge with you?
I'm going to bring one of our interns who is a graduate. So she'll be out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, super. I'm glad. Always, that's one of the things Campus Crusade for Christ, now known as Cru, taught me is always bring somebody with you, just to show them, to introduce them, to just to do ministry alongside somebody. It's always good to take somebody with you so that they can learn from your example, because we're always in the process of working ourselves out of a job. We want to raise up people to come up alongside us and to really do more than what we're doing. We want people to surpass us, but we need to bring them along with what we're doing so that they can learn and grow. And God is doing a quick work. And I really think there's a reason for that. So 2 more questions before we close. What's one thing you would want to tell your younger self? If you could go back to that 15-year-old girl or maybe 22-year-old girl, what would you want to say to her?
Just trusting the Lord's timing. Trust his timing. We live in such a time of instant gratification. We get frustrated when our Facebook takes too long to load, or I got to wait a minute and a half for something in the microwave, whatever it may be. And so waiting on the Lord, it's a process sometimes, but there's so much that he's teaching us in the waiting room. It took us over a year to get pregnant with our daughter. And in that time, although it was very difficult for me, I learned so much in that waiting room. And I'm so grateful for what the Lord grew in me during that time. And I think if I could go back to when I was 15, I would tell myself that, to be patient, to wait on God's timing, to not settle for what you think is best, to really wait on what he has, because it's worth it. It's so good. Serving the Lord and following him, it's so good, and it's worth the wait always.
That's awesome. Great word. And also, would you like to share what's one thing you wish for the next generation coming up behind you?
It's just saying yes to the Lord. I mean, these are like foundational things that we say all the time, but ultimately that's what it is. Say yes to the Lord. There's so much in this life that wants to distract us and pull at us all the time. There's so many things. And, don't settle. Don't settle. Say yes to the Lord. Say yes to what he has for you. And, things are going to come at you that want to steal your attention or time, what the person beside you is doing, or but what is God asking you to do? And I think for the next generation coming up behind us, it's answering the call that God has, even when it's hard, even when it means waiting, even when it means saying no to something. Say yes to the Lord.
That's great. Yeah, that's been my motto for years. Just keep saying yes. He keeps growing that muscle of faith, so you can keep saying yes for the next challenge. And boy, the challenges do get bigger as we grow, don't they?
They do.
You're raising a toddler. How old is your daughter now?
She's a year and a half.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Wait till 3. You're going to have a lot of fun with the 3-year-old.
Yeah.
I just came back. Yeah. Looking forward to it. So what's one thing, how can we be praying for you and your ministry and the women at the center? What would you like to share as far as a prayer or a need that you have?
So one thing that we've noticed just with COVID and everything is that there's a lot of empty beds. And we know that there's women out there who need this program, who need Teen Challenge. And so, just with everything going on, people have a lot more excuses to hold off. But, I just want to pray that the people that God is drawing to this ministry, because at our center, for instance, there's 24 beds. So, that's a small center, but I feel that the Lord really handpicks the women that he wants to be here. And so I know right now that there's women that God is calling to say, it's time for you to go so you can be transformed through Christ and be loved on and in a safe place. And so I just want to pray that those women, they come in, that they say yes, and that God directs them accordingly. And then just for the women here, pray that the strongholds that are in their life, that those would be broken from them. There's some heavy things, unforgiveness and challenges that they face in dealing with the past and things that they've gone through or decisions that they've made that are just so heavy. And so I just want to pray for them that God would give them the strength that they need to really work through those things.
Good. Yes, and he will. I'll be talking to you again before July 14th when I come out there to get an update on how the women are doing and what kind of talk you want me to deliver for them. God's put some more things on my heart. But the last group I talked to was a very mature group who several of them have actually graduated, so I won't get to see them again. So it'll be interesting. So I'm curious how many new people you're going to have by July 14th, and but we'll talk about that more. But I just want to thank you again for your time here today. I think our internet froze, but I'm just going to keep going. So thank you for your time today. And we just want to remind you from Bloom with Deb to continue to live out your mission, find that passion that you have, and let God direct your steps. Samantha gave us a lot of things to think about and talk about, and I just want to challenge you to keep saying yes to the Lord, follow his path for you, and know that he loves you no matter what. And if you are in a season of preparation and waiting, that you can find contentment in the Lord. So thanks for tuning in today. Thank you, Samantha, for taking time to share your story with us. I'm sure it will encourage many, many women. So thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. See you next time. Bye, guys. Hold on. Stop.